Hey guys, welcome to another Humankind video where we're going to be talking about combat today. My name is GamerZach and Amplitude Studios did invite me to play Humankind, and I spent 2 hours going through the early stages of the game and experiencing quite a lot. But there's one thing that we're kind of not allowed to show off quite yet, which is combat. However, I did ask, can I take a screenshot and draw stuff for people to explain how combat works? And they said that's fine. So I'm gonna entertain you with my wonderful drawings today and explain how combat works in Humankind, which I think is something that really does set the game apart. Now, one thing that we've got here that you may or may not have noticed is that the terrain in Humankind is pretty important. You can see here there are these cliffs here, there's these cliffs here, this is all impassable cliffs. There's this sort of ramp down here, this cliff, this cliff. It's not just mountains like this or hills which like that, but even this sort of stuff here does matter as well. But in games like Civilization, the terrain's pretty much, you know, hills, mountains, and the hills kind of matter, but it's not to this degree where there's a lot of different variations. There's these cliffs here, you can have, for like, you know, it's not here I think, but you can have cliffs on top of cliffs, you can have high ground to high ground to high ground, and all sorts of stuff which you have to take into consideration. But how is this all going to play out for combat? Well, let me explain. Let's say this is our place that we're defending here, and an invading force has made their way up into our territory. This is an army on the map, and you know, we got to be careful of these guys. They're invading us, and we might have our own army over here, slightly bigger headed. Over here, this is going to be our army, set to defend our territory here. But first, what are armies? Armies moving around, units on the map, it's something that's a little bit different from some of the other 4Xs and different from Civilization particularly, where each army consists of, well, actually our army would be listed in the top right corner, of 4 different units, right? And up to 4 different units. An army is controlled by a general, which is sort of a limited resource. You have a certain number of generals, so you can have a certain number of units. You can unlock civics and stuff to get more generals, but basically you could have 4 units. Now, this is a little confusing, so let me move our army over to this side and move their army slightly over here. There we go. Just so you know. So let's say we have our army here, and we've got 4 dudes in here, and let's say we've got 2 axemen, right? That's an axeman, and we've got another one over here. We've got another axeman. There we go. And we've got maybe 2 bowmen. 2 bowmen. That's a bow and arrow, okay? 2 bowmen. So this is what an army kind of looks like. We have 4 units inside, all of this is inside one army, which is moving around the map. Theirs is gonna be similar, right? They have their own composition. Now, it's only up to 4 units, so let's say they only have 3 units in this army. You know, doesn't matter too much what they are. They have 3 units here. And this is what armies are in Humankind. They're a collection of units that move around the map, and they can be split and combined at will as long as you have the generals to do so. Now, from this, battle and combat gets a little bit more interesting. So I'm gonna clear off all of this. So let's say we're coming in, they're coming in, and they've sort of stood on this cliff here. It's like, all right, we're gonna invade you, and our army is over here ready to defend. Now, first thing, we're gonna charge our army into the enemy army, right? And there's a couple things that can happen. First of all, there is a retreat mechanic. Now, if the enemy retreats, they could just run away, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that a conflict is guaranteed to happen. But let's say they agree to the battle. All right, we're gonna fight. What happens is something a little bit interesting that really does set Humankind apart. It cordons off a portion of the map as the battlefield. So let's say all of this is going to be where combat is taking place, right? And the units are not going to be able to move out of this battlefield, right? This is where it's going to be taking place. Anything out here, all of this stuff, this is not the battlefield, and the units are not going to be able to move out there. This is all not anything you can interact with. This is going to be like a tactical battle that takes place, right, within this zone. So it sort of becomes a mini tactics game in this grand historical 4X. So that's sort of interesting. And the more units involved, the larger the battlefield, and you could have entire, nationwide fronts in the future, as the developers said. But in this case, we just have two small armies colliding against each other. So the first thing you have to do is you have to position your units. So from here, you get to choose where your units are gonna stand. So we've got 2 axemen, 2 bowmen. Let's say we put our units over up here. There's a little bit of a hill here, you see that? So let's just stand on that little bit of high ground. This is gonna be an axeman. We could maybe set up over here as well. Try claim this high ground. This is gonna be another axeman. We could set an archer back there. This is gonna be an archer. And let's be a bit reckless and just set an archer right here. Another archer, right? That's yeah, archer right there. Okay. Now I should say at this point that you can auto-calc the battle. This can be computer controlled if you so desire, but if you want to do manual control, this is how it works. Also important to note that in multiplayer, there's only simultaneous turns. So this is sort of a setup phase, but everything happens simultaneously in the multiplayer. There's not going to be any hot seat or anything like that. The game is designed to be simultaneous turns only. Now, once you position your units, all right, this is where we want to be. Only then do we see where the enemy positions their troops, right? So they could say, all right, we're going to set up over here. We might have our own archer, and we're going to tuck it right back there. They only have 3 units though, so we're going to have 1 unit right here. Let's say this was an axeman, and 1 unit right here. They're going for the as defensive as possible position. Very hard to defeat, right? Let's actually make them a little bit more reckless. They put 1 unit down here on the low ground, just for demonstration purposes. It doesn't make any strategic sense, but sure. Also, this one will probably be stood here instead. Yeah, that makes more sense. There we go. Okay, so clearly we're gonna win this battle, but one more thing to consider here is that when we're attacking, the enemy has a flag that you can capture, right? So this flag means that if you capture this tile and hold on to it, you win the battle. Now, winning the battle doesn't necessarily mean all their units are dead. There's a few ways to win, but even if you don't capture that, the round will end in 3 turns. Quite important here, there are 3 rounds to this battle. 3 rounds. So the rounds, in each round, each unit has a turn. So let me go ahead. Well, let's simulate a battle. Let's say we move. We start to move up. That guy's gonna go there and hit that guy. We're gonna charge forward. Actually, no. We're gonna send this guy to stand here. We could send the archers up and start shooting. Oh, in my experience, they have 3 range. We could move the archer up, start shooting. We could just kill that guy. They have an archer left who shoots back. This guy could maybe walk up to here, right? So we have a little bit of a tactical battle going on, and that will be the first round, right? It'll be that would be round 1, right? And everyone's done their turn, and then we go on to round 2. At the end of the 3 rounds, this battle is over. And if there's any surviving units, they return to armies on the world map, right? So it's not a be-all and end-all. It's not a guaranteed one side wipes out the other. There's 3 rounds. Meanwhile, while these turns are taking place in the battle, the rest of the world is still running. Remember I said there's simultaneous turns. All of this stuff out here is still going on. So it's important that you keep that in mind. So what can actually be happening is that you take one turn in here and you go back out and manage the rest of your empire. Maybe go fight take another turn in another battle. There's lots of simultaneous things happening, and it can kind of be like in Lords of the Realm 3, where you have these multiple battles going on in real time and you can pop out to the empire map, come back to one battle, go over to the other battle. Lots of things can be happening at the same time. Now that could be a concern with how tedious or confusing or overwhelming things can be, especially in the late game, but I only played the early game, and these small armies against each other, it felt pretty cool. Well, I'd like to see how it turns out in late game as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, one turn has taken place here. It's now the second round, and let's say we just, how do I clear this up? Get rid of some of these lines here. Let's say we clear this up. This guy died, he's gone. Maybe we just charge in some axemen. We're gonna take this guy and move him right here. Okay, he's now captured the flag. This guy down here, let's say he tries to move up here. Now he's guaranteed dead, right? There's not gonna be much. He's not gonna be doing much. We're gonna be killing him pretty easily. But we don't have to kill him. We've captured the flag. So we can just win this round anyway. But let's say we don't capture the flag. Let's make this a bit more interesting. We don't capture the flag. We just hang around, and for whatever reason, it ends the 3 turns and we run out of time, right? We run out of time. No more turns. What happens, basically, is everything clears off. And, let me grab the right colors here, the armies return to the battlefield, right? The armies return to the battlefield as we left it. Oh, that's the wrong color. Well, as we started, rather. However, this guy, in his unit composition, the enemy's unit composition, only has 1 guy now because we killed all the others. There's no one else in there. Meanwhile, ours might still have 4 or however many is left. Maybe we lost a unit at some point. We only got 3 guys left, right? And at this point, you know, it might be wise for this guy to just run away with his tail between his legs, and we have successfully defended our kingdom. That's a shield. Okay, that's a shield. Okay. Defended. And that's basically how combat works in Humankind. And just thinking about it, you know, I know my crude drawings are sort of a bit of a mess, but that's essentially how it works. Each battle is a tactical mini-game between armies controlled by a limited set of generals, so you can only have so many armies. And it sort of gets into this little thing where all this terrain, all of this positioning, even if you were, for example, attacking someone down this hill, you would have an advantage because it's downhill. It's, you know, you could be shooting down a cliff. Like if you have an archer right here, it's such an advantageous position, right? It's so easy to defend and shoot at people and all of that stuff. So a lot of stuff comes into play, and it sort of changes how combat works in what we expect in a historical 4X like Civilization, where we just basically crash units into each other, bigger number wins. You know, a lot of stuff also comes into play because of the unique units. There are poison effects, there are adjacency bonuses, you know, that, like for example, there's phalanx formations for the Greeks, and all of that stuff does play into all of this. So tactically and strategically, combat in Humankind is incredibly complex and deep if you take into account everything, but does that make it too much? And that's basically how combat works in Humankind. Do let me know what you think. Do you think it's going to be too much, you know, especially in the late game where you have tons and tons of units going on? Do you think it'll be manageable? What do you think? Do you like it? Do you like the tactics, or is it just too complicated? Do you actually like, you know, crashing units into each other, bigger number wins, you know, or you like unit stacking and death stacks or anything like that? What do you think of all of this? Also, if you'd like to check out other Humankind videos, we've got more on the channel. You can check those out. I played quite a lot. I played 2 hours. I took things really slow. I know I probably missed a few points or didn't even consider some things about combat in this particular video, so ask questions down below. I will be able to answer as best as I can. If it's about balance or stats or anything like that, obviously things aren't finalized. UI is not finalized. None of it's finalized. The main reason why they didn't want to show off combat yet is because the UI is not finalized, and they don't want you to get the wrong idea. It was a little bit confusing, but it was still very fun to play. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Do watch the other Humankind videos, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can become a YouTube member, subscribe on Twitch, or donate directly on Patreon. Support from those sources do mean reduced ads here on YouTube, so we don't put so many ads on our videos. If you'd like to join us on social media, I am active on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all of them at GamerZach, and of course we have our wonderful Discord community, discord.gg/GamerZach, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can click the buttons on the screen right now to check out so many more videos of all sorts of things. We do have a lot of Civ 6 stuff as well from back in when I was doing a lot of Civ 6 stuff. And of course the other Humankind videos. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!